The sun was setting over the small, rural town of Oak Ridge. For the Smith family, it had always been home, a place where they worked hard, raised their children, and built their future. But everything was about to change. The land they had worked so hard for was no longer theirs. A letter arrived one morning, stamped with a cold official seal, informing them that their property had been seized by a real estate corporation due to unpaid taxes they didn't even know they owed. The Smiths weren't alone. Dozens of families had received similar letters, all claiming to owe something they had never heard of before. Panic spread through Oak Ridge, and the once close community was torn apart by fear of losing their homes. But the truth was far darker than anyone knew. The land was being secretly stolen by a ruthless real estate mogul named Charles Donovan. Under the guise of a legitimate company, Donovan had been using shady legal maneuvers to force families out of their homes, claiming false tax debts, and then purchasing the land at a fraction of its true value. The more Keanu Reeves learned about the situation, the more determined he became to stop Donovan's evil plans. "This isn't just about land," Keanu said quietly to the Smiths. "This is about people's lives. I'm going to help you take it back." But how could Keanu take down a powerful mogul like Donovan, who had deep connections and money to cover his tracks? Will Keanu be able to expose Donovan's corruption? Or will the real estate mogul continue his manipulation unchecked? Stick with us, because the fight for justice is just beginning. Keanu knew that in order to outsmart someone like Charles Donovan, he would need more than just determination. He needed a plan. He spent days researching Donovan's company, digging through records and meeting with legal experts. It quickly became clear that Donovan was a master of manipulation. His company, Eastwood Properties, had a team of lawyers and accountants working tirelessly to cover up his illegal actions. But there was one thing Donovan hadn't counted on. Keanu was an expert at uncovering hidden truths. As Keanu dug deeper, he discovered that Donovan wasn't just stealing land through fraudulent tax claims. He was also using aggressive tactics to pressure local governments into signing off on his shady deals. Keanu knew the key to taking Donovan down would be to expose him publicly. The only problem was that Donovan had carefully constructed a web of lies that made it difficult for anyone to see the truth. "We need to find a way to break his confidence," Keanu said, sitting with the Smiths in their modest living room. "Once he believes he's untouchable, that's when he'll make a mistake." The Smiths were eager for a solution, but the fear was still there. "How do we do that?" they asked. Keanu's eyes gleamed with purpose. "We'll use his greed against him." Could Keanu really expose Donovan's web of lies, or was the mogul too powerful to be taken down? The answer lies ahead, so stay tuned. Keanu's plan was bold. He had learned that Donovan was looking to expand his empire into new areas, specifically by acquiring land from struggling families like the Smiths. The real estate mogul was preparing to make a big purchase deal with a major city developer that would cement his control over Oak Ridge and its surrounding lands. Keanu knew this was his chance. He set up a meeting with Donovan, pretending to be a potential investor interested in buying land for a future development project. The meeting was held in a sleek upscale office that Donovan had built as a symbol of his power. Keanu entered the room, confident but calm, with one goal in mind: to make Donovan think he had found a way to turn the tables. "I've been following your company's success for a while now," Keanu began smoothly, sitting across from Donovan. "I believe there's a lot of potential in the land you've been acquiring. But I also know there are a few details that could be problematic." Donovan raised an eyebrow, intrigued but cautious. "What are you talking about?" Keanu smiled. "I know what you've been doing, how you've been forcing families out of their land with these fake tax claims, but I also know that there's a way to make this all go away." For a price, Donovan's eyes narrowed. "What do you want?" Keanu leaned in, his voice lowering. "I want your entire operation. All of it. The truth will come out, one way or another. You can either fight me and watch everything fall apart, or you can walk away, and I'll make sure the authorities never find out about your little scam." Donovan hesitated, his mind working over the options. He was used to controlling the narrative, but now someone else had the upper hand. Keanu had just planted the seed of doubt. Would Donovan crack under the pressure, or would he retaliate against Keanu's bold challenge? Keep watching, because the tension is about to reach its peak. Keanu's bold move had put Donovan on edge, but it also set in motion a series of events that Donovan hadn't expected. The real estate mogul was smart. He knew better than to trust anyone who didn't already have a stake in his corrupt dealings. So Donovan did what he did best. He began making threats. He tried to intimidate Keanu, calling in his lawyers to scare him off. But Keanu was unshaken. In fact, he had anticipated Donovan's next move. Keanu had already set up a hidden camera in Donovan's office, recording their conversation. While Donovan thought he was in control, Keanu had been collecting evidence that would expose his entire scheme. As Keanu reviewed the footage, he found exactly what he needed: clear proof that Donovan had been manipulating local authorities, forging documents, and using intimidation to steal land from vulnerable families. The evidence was irrefutable. Keanu didn't waste any time. He took the footage to the media, knowing that once the public saw the truth, Donovan's empire would crumble. The story broke, and within hours, Donovan's corruption was exposed on every news outlet. But the battle wasn't over yet. Donovan, realizing he was losing control, made a desperate attempt to silence Keanu by trying to bribe him. "You can have all the money you want," Donovan said in a final attempt to buy Keanu's silence. Keanu simply smiled. "It's not about the money. It's about justice." Will Donovan escape with a last-ditch effort to cover his tracks, or will he finally face the consequences of his actions? The next twist is coming. As the media stormed Donovan's mansion and the authorities closed in, the full extent of his crimes came to light. It wasn't just Oak Ridge he had been targeting, it was small towns across the country. His network of corruption stretched far and wide, and the damage he had caused was immeasurable. But justice had finally caught up with him. Donovan was arrested, his assets seized, and his company dismantled. Families like the Smiths were able to reclaim their land and rebuild their lives. The town of Oak Ridge, once overshadowed by fear, began to thrive again as the corrupt system that had held it captive for so long was torn apart. As Keanu stood outside the Smiths' home, watching the relief on their faces, he gave them a knowing smile. "You did the hard part," he said. "You stood up for what was right. I just helped make sure the world knew the truth." The Smiths looked at him with gratitude. "We can't thank you enough," they said. Keanu shrugged. "It was never about thank yous. It's about standing up for people who have no voice. And you did that." As Keanu turned to walk away, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow on the small town that had once been torn apart by corruption, but now stood united in victory. If you were inspired by Keanu's actions, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay updated on more incredible stories like this, because sometimes one person can change everything.